Welcome to Align Christ-Centered Yoga. My name is Linda and I'll be guiding our practice today. My question for you today is, how well do you wait? How well do you wait for the really good things, for the special events, the birthday, the birth of a child, a wedding? I'm realizing that I don't wait that well. A friend of mine recently gave birth to a baby 3 weeks early. And her go bag was packed and she was ready and they went and it was beautiful and mother and baby are doing great. My 2 children came 2 weeks late. And as the time wore on and it got closer to my due date and it got past my due date, and I was so frustrated and I was cranky and I was uncomfortable and it wasn't pretty. I was thinking about the way that my children would get ramped up before Christmas or before Easter, and how those final few days were almost unbearable, and they often were not very well behaved. In our culture here in America, we have a word for seniors who are getting ready to graduate, senioritis, and the way that they just kind of quit trying because it's almost here, but it's not here, and I don't want to work anymore. Jesus is coming back. And he has these words for us as we anticipate his return. He says this. He says, "Keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this. If the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him." Today on the mat, we're going to work our way into Camel Pose, and we'll be doing a lot of opening across the chest from shoulder to shoulder. And I want you, as we do this, to just think about how well you wait. And in particular today, how well are you waiting for Jesus to come? Have you gotten to that point where you're just screaming, "Oh, come, Jesus, come, I am so done with this. War, and famine, and pandemics"? Or are you waiting with joy and anticipation each day better than the one before it? If you haven't already, come to a seated position, maybe elevating those hips up on a blanket or a block. Find your sitting bones. Begin to find your breath. Closing your eyes. Letting the day fade away. How is the breath moving through your body? Begin to slow the breath down. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose, jaw relaxed and softened. And can you inhale a little deeper? The breath moving from the lungs and into the rib cage and all the way down to the pelvic floor. And exhale and feel the breath move up. And as we think about releasing and strengthening the back today, can you feel the breath moving into the back of the body? How does your lower back feel today? Your middle back and upper back. Notice what you notice. Begin to connect movement and breath. Breathing in as the arms rise up and overhead. Exhaling, bowing your head as the arms come down. And back and forth here, just inviting the Holy Spirit into your practice today. Giving him permission to guide your thoughts, even to guide your movement, giving you wisdom. One more breath here. And bring those hands out to the side, and again, maybe finding the sitting bones, and let the hands come just a little bit lower than those shoulders. And exhaling, find that seated cat. And inhaling, cow. And as you draw into cat, can you draw the belly in towards the spine and tuck the chin? As you come into cow, can you lengthen from collarbone to pelvis? And 2 more times here. On that next inhale, bring the arms up and overhead. And exhale into a gentle twist, coming over towards the right. And then palms together, inhale, come all the way up, and exhale into a gentle twist, coming to the left. And again, check in. How does the back feel? Lower back. Middle back. Upper back. And take the twist to the left for one final time. Bring those arms all the way up and interlace the fingers and press the heels of the hands to the sky. Bring the shoulders all the way up to the ears. Then gently glide the shoulders down the body, and can you find strength as those shoulder blades draw wide and low, as the belly draws into the spine and up, as the rib cage softens. Exhale, let the hands come down gently behind you. Just stay here as you begin to find this back bend, supporting with those hands on the floor. And how wide can you open up shoulder to shoulder? One more breath here. Gently come back up, sitting straight. And come off that block or prop, bring the blocks towards the front and meet me in table. Fingers spread wide. Put a little pocket of air in the palm of the hand. Let the elbows draw in towards each other. The shoulders draw away from each other. And begin to find cat and cow here. Connected with breath. Exhaling into that cat. Inhaling to cow. 2 more times here, cat to cow. And meet me at center and just find a strong table pose. Maybe you press a little bit more into the tops of your feet. Maybe the head moves into alignment with the spine. I have a tendency to hold mine a little bit too high. Maybe your head is even a little bit too low. But can you just keep the head as an extension of the spine there? Take that right leg back and begin to roll over the top of the foot and then press the heel back. So back and forth here a few times, waking up that foot. Maybe stretching through the calf muscles, checking ankle mobility. Then gently let that leg float up parallel to the floor and just bring the heel to hip. And just 4 times here. It's just a hamstring curl. How does that leg feel today? Can you feel the stretch in the quadricep as the heel comes back towards the hip? And the next time that heel comes back, just leave it there and relax the foot. And maybe this is enough for you, or maybe you have a strap and that goes around the ankle. Or maybe you bring that other arm, that opposite arm around the foot and press hand into foot and foot into hand, and maybe you begin to find a back bend here. And just what feels right and good. And exhale, come back to table and gently draw back into child. Stay here in child for a breath, just finding length in the spine, heaviness in the hips. Rise back up into table and take that left foot back behind you. So opposite of last time. Again, just roll through, letting that heel come back. Coming to the top of the foot. A couple more times here. Gently press through that heel and let that leg come up, bending the knee, foot to sky. Begin to find those hamstring curls. And so as you work your way through the practice today, can you be very present, celebrating each moment, checking in, noticing sensation, making choices that are right for this particular practice. Heel comes in, foot softens, maybe this is where you stay. Maybe you find a strap, maybe that other arm comes behind you and the foot presses into the hand and the hand into the foot, and maybe there's a little bit more of a quadricep stretch or a back bend. And as you're ready, release. And again, come into child and just lengthen through that spine. And that next breath, find plank. And find strength in the plank, imagining those hip points drawing towards the spine, the tailbone drawing down towards the spine, belly button in, maybe even finding some support right at the base of the throat. And then let the elbows come up to the sky as you come down to the mat. And find Sphinx with forearms on the mat and just inhale up, exhale down. Come back and forth here a few times. And as you're ready, press into that Sphinx pose. And can you find the work in the middle of the back? Maybe engage the abdominals a little more. How is the breath moving through the body? And exhale down and bring hands to rib cage and hips back to heels. And come forward again into that kneeling plank. And maybe this time you come down to the mat in kneeling plank, or maybe you come down in grasshopper. So if you're coming from grasshopper, it would actually come from table. Hips start over those heels, over the knees, and then you begin to drop the rib cage down. Comes a few inches within the mat, but the elbows stay below the shoulders. And then the collarbone rises. And you come into a low cobra instead of a sphinx. So wherever you are, come down. And come in and out of either your sphinx or your low cobra. Come up into that back bend and stay. Can you relax the hips, even as maybe the feet press in a little more? Can you draw the shoulders a little closer to the hips, away from the ears? Exhale, come back to child. Stay there for a breath. So twice more through whatever flow you want to make of this. Maybe it is a kneeling plank. Maybe it's grasshopper, sphinx, or low cobra. Find your way back to child. And staying connected with your breath, move through that one more time. Down to the mat, into your back bend, and back to child. Pressing into hands and knees, curl the toes under and meet me in downward facing dog. And as we start here, those knees are bent and the rib cage is pressing in towards the thighs, and just begin to move your feet back and forth, just kind of rolling all the way back to the heels, bending those knees. And on that next inhale, let the heels rise, and exhaling, bring the heels back towards downward facing dog. And check in. How do the legs feel? How does the back feel? What happens if you draw that belly in just a little more? Draw the rib cage a little closer to the thighs. Breathing in, draw the gaze forward and bring that right foot in between the hands. Begin to gently drop and lift that back knee. And open up through the psoas, through the hip on that left side. Again, just really opening up the front of the body today. And let that knee come down and come all the way up into cactus pose. And then bring the arms up and exhale, round down, nose to knee. Rise up high. Bring those arms out and find a back bend. Inhale up. So there's some balance involved here too. Hands come down, wrap around the leg, nose to knee. Inhale up. Cactus into that back bend. And one more time here. Hands come to either side of that foot. Raise that back leg up. Bring the front foot to the back. Meet me in plank. So in plank, from this full plank, maybe you drop down to your knees, or maybe now you're in that chaturanga and you come into that upward facing dog. Wherever you are, hold the back bend. And engage the front of the body. Engage the abdominals. Let the shoulders drop back towards the hips. Press through the tops of the feet and meet me in downward facing dog. And take a breath here. And draw the gaze forward and just bring that left foot all the way forward, and maybe bringing hands to blocks or onto your fists to protect the wrists. Again, making whatever modifications are right for you. Let that back knee drop and lift. Next time the back knee comes down, leave it there. Top of the foot to the mat. Sweep all the way up. Cactus arms, find your back bend. Just notice where it is. And then let the hands rise, and exhaling, bring those hands down around that leg, nose to knee. And rise up, come into that back bend. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, nose to knee. Twice more. Find your balance. Find that focal point as you look forward, as you look up, as you look down. Engage the abdominals. And as you're ready, hands to either side of the foot, just curl the toes under, raise that back leg. This time float hips to sky and bring the back foot up to meet the front. Knees deeply bent, hold on to your elbows. Let the back of the head come down towards the mat and shake it out, knowing yes. Gently begin to move the upper body side to side, finding length in the spine. Hands to shins, come up halfway. Exhale down and pressing through the feet, rise all the way up, mountain pose. Hands to heart, stay in mountain for a breath and check in. Yeah, and just noticing the way that the body feels from the feet all the way up to the head. One more breath here. The next inhale, arms rise, exhaling, forward fold. Hands to shins, come up halfway, and exhale down, find your plank. From plank, find your way to the mat, come into your back bend. And curling the toes under, meet me in downward facing dog. The next inhale, the right leg rises high, three-leg dog. Drawing the gaze forward, engage the abdominals and bring that foot through the hands. The back foot to warrior one stance. So that back foot is wide on the mat. Toes are pointed slightly forward. Go ahead and bring the hips facing straight forward, warrior one. Right hand to the small of the back. Exhale into a gentle twist. Keep it high as you press that hand against the thigh. Then as you're ready, bring both hands up, straighten out that front leg, bring right hand to thigh, and just reach as far forward as you can. Come all the way forward and down and back up again. So support the movement from underneath in those abdominals. Lengthen through the spine. Can you use breath to guide the movement? Bring that front knee over the ankle, bring both arms up. Find your warrior one. Take the hands behind, gently pressing into the small of the back, and just find that back bend. And can you open across shoulder to shoulder? And that next inhale, the arms rise and the palms come to heart as the back foot comes up to front, mountain pose. Find breath. And the next inhale, arms rise, exhaling, come down, forward fold. And hands to shins, come up halfway, and exhale down at one leg back and then the other, and meet me in plank. And from plank, coming all the way down towards that mat, finding that back bend, coming back into downward facing dog. Settle into downward dog and maybe pedal through the feet again. And notice how that back feels. And inhale, heels rise, and exhaling, heels come down. Coming into that three-leg dog, the left leg rises. And gaze forward, foot comes all the way through. Back foot comes to the outside edge of the mat, facing forward, warrior one as the body rises. Engage through the abdominals. Left hand to the small of the back. This time it's the right arm that crosses that front leg. Twisting towards that front leg. How well do you wait? Can you stay very present in the mundane? As you're ready, release. Let the arms rise. Straighten out that front leg. Left hand to thigh. Reach as you come all the way forward and down. Inhale up. And a few more times here. As you're ready, that other arm comes up and that front leg lunges again. And then hands behind the back, support into that back bend. Taking a deep breath in, bring the arms up again, palms together, step the back foot up to meet the front, mountain pose. Closing your eyes, check in, noticing the sensations in the right side of the body compared to the left. Deep breath in, arms rise, exhaling, forward fold. And hands to shins, rise up halfway, and exhale down, and bring one leg back and then the other, and meet me in plank. And however you choose to, come all the way down to the mat, legs extended behind you. And take those legs just a little bit wide. And gently take the hands down the rib cage. The palm is still flat on the mat, fingers facing forward, drawing elbows in. Inhale into a back bend from here. So again, finding your edge, no struggle, no pain. Exhale down. Inhale up. Stay here for a breath. Engage from the front of the body as well. And exhale down. Gently bring the hands back to the rib cage. Just come into a low cobra and see where it goes. And release down, stacking one forearm on top of the other, turning your cheek, resting your head on your arm, wiggle your hips. And turn your head and look the other direction. Bring the hands back to the rib cage. Floating the hands, use just the body to rise. And take those hands behind you, palms facing in, thumbs down, fingers reaching towards toes. Find your back bend here. And then come down, but bring that right forearm to the mat, chin to forearm, looking forward. And take that left leg up into a quadricep stretch. So there's no back bend here in the moment. You're just kind of noticing how flexible is that leg today. Begin to press hand into foot and consider maybe lifting that leg off the mat. What are you feeling in the rest of the body? And exhale and let that go. And shake out the hips. And this time the left hand, the left forearm is across the front of the mat. Right? And come into that quadricep stretch with the right. So start just letting the heel come in. And then maybe with the strap, maybe with the hand. And maybe the foot presses into the hand. Engaging through the abdominals for support. Maybe that leg lifts up as well. And as you're ready, release. And let that leg go. And again, just turning the cheek as the forearms stack. Wiggle the hips. Come back to table, meeting me there. And settle here. How does table feel right now? Can we remain committed to the integrity of each pose as we flow through it? Curling the toes under, meet me in downward facing dog. The next inhale, the right leg rises high. As the gaze comes forward, bring that right foot all the way through the hands. Come up into your lunge. Sinking into lunge, take the hands behind you, interlacing fingers. Elbows coming wide to the outside edges of the mat. Begin to find your back bend here. And then release, bringing the hands all the way up. Hands to heart, step into that front foot. Float the knee up so that back knee comes up. And finding balance as you press into that right foot. Can you hold on to that left foot and find your quadricep stretch here? Finding balance, bring that opposite arm overhead. And find breath. Pressing into the foot. Begin to gently draw that leg up behind you. And find your back bend. And your balance. And gently and slowly come out of it, and wobbles are okay. Deep breath in. Arms rise, exhale, hands to heart. Check in. Hands down to the mat, forward fold. And hands to shins, come up halfway and exhale down, and one leg back and then the other, and meet me in plank. And from plank, come all the way down to the mat. And from here on the floor, on the mat, find your back bend. Notice where it goes. And that navel still drawing tightly into the spine. Use those abdominals to draw you back through table into downward facing dog. On the next inhale, the left leg rises. And draw the gaze forward as the foot comes all the way through and come up into that lunge. And sink into that lunge, and hands behind you awkwardly. Just bring the opposite hand in front this time. Elbows reaching to the side. Engaging the abdominals, find your back bend. And as you're ready, sweep those arms up and hands to heart. Press into that front foot. This back leg is going to sweep forward, knee up. And bring the heel back into that quadricep stretch and raise that other arm up to the sky. And maybe this is where you stay. Or maybe the front foot pushes into the back. Find your focal point. Find your balance. And find your dancer pose. And then gently and slowly come out of it. And shake everything out. Deep breath in. This time bend the knees, forearms to thighs. Stay here for a moment as the hip creases reach back, as the top of the head reaches forward. Find length in the spine. And then find your forward fold. And stay in forward fold for another breath. And as you're ready, one foot comes back and then the other, and come into a strong plank. And then from plank, knees down, child to table twice. Just ease into that child's pose. Ease into that table. How does your back feel? Make any adjustments that you need to make for it. Maybe that means just going into a child's pose and holding it. Or if your back is really tight, maybe even just lying down on the floor and bringing those legs up a wall. As you're ready, rise up into a kneeling mountain. So from here, we're going to work our way into Camel Pose. So if you have blocks, I would invite you to get them. Even if Camel Pose is one of your favorite poses and it's fairly easy for you, go ahead and let's just start with those blocks high. And imagine that the front of our hips and our legs are pressing against a wall. Bring those arms up and just gently let that right arm come back and find where that block is. And that left arm. And engage through the abdominals and make it strong. And then bring the hands down behind the small of the back. And begin to come back into your back bend as you press into your blocks. So with the blocks higher, maybe you can focus a little bit more on the sensations in the spine as you round the spine up towards the sky and open up shoulder to shoulder. And how far down is that head in the back? Keep some control of the neck. It's not jello. And then gently, one hand to the small of the back and then the other rise up. So we're going to do that once more. So, maybe you're still using the blocks. Maybe they are lower. Maybe your hands are just going to go to your heels. You find the pose that's right for you. Again, imagining that your thighs and your hips are pressing into this wall in front of you as you find this. So again, just kind of reach and find that kinesthetic awareness as the hands reach towards the heels. And then as you press into those hands and engage through those abdominals, open up. And maybe the hand reaches back and then the other, and what is your fullest expression of camel today? And one more breath here. And then as you're ready, one hand to the back and then the other, meet me in table. And tops of the feet to the mat with a little extra weight in the tops of the feet. Take the pressure off the knees. Take 2 breaths here and just feel that spine lengthening and returning to neutral. And cross your ankles and come up to a sitting position. Bringing the feet forward. Bring hands to shins and find your tailbone and you just gently draw the belly in, find cat and cow. And a couple more times here. And then hands down on the mat, come all the way down on your back. So knees bent, find a block or a prop if you have one, and come into a supported bridge with those hips lifting just enough that that block comes underneath the tailbone and the lower, below the spine. And we've done a lot of back bending today, so if you have a natural arch that's a little bit higher, if you're feeling a little more flexible, maybe you can take that block up a level or, for some of you, even all the way up, and that's going to feel good. But wherever you are, it should be a pose of restoration. So at this point, there's no sense of pushing into the pose. It's a pose where the muscles are beginning to unknot and unwind and release. Stay where you are for one more breath. And press into the feet just enough that you can kind of slide that block out from underneath you and slowly come back to the mat. And just stay here for a breath or two and let that back settle. Gently bring hands into knees and begin to circle the knees on the ceiling. Just back and forth here. Just massage out that lower back. And go the other direction. Gently bring the knees in, wrapping your arms either around the shins or underneath the knees, whatever is best for you in the moment. And just rock side to side. And then settle at center and tuck your chin and bring your nose up towards your knees. And release. And maybe one more time. From here, hands to knees, gently just push the knees away from the body and into the rib cage, back and forth here. And let the feet come down to the mat and slide long into Shavasana. Go ahead and give yourself a hug, elbows to sky, just wrapping the arms around towards your shoulder blades. And draw the elbows down into the chest. Inhale up and switch so the other arm is in front. And again, just draw those elbows all the way down. And then bring the arms up to the sky. Reach as high as you can. Let the shoulders thump down once and let the arms come down to the side. And stay here and find breath. Opening yourself up to the joy and expectation of anticipation. The call to live a life fully present in the moment as we wait for the future coming of our King. If you can stay here a little longer, please do. But if you need to get on with your day, begin to bring movement back, wiggling fingers and toes, rotating wrists and ankles, eyes still closed. Then taking a deep breath, bring those arms up and overhead. And find length as fingers reach to one wall and toes reach to the other. And gently bend your knees. And come over onto one side, supporting your head with your arm. On that next inhale, press into your hands and rise up. And crossing your legs in front of you. Find a seated pose. Checking in mind, body, and spirit. What has stayed the same and what has changed since you came to your mat today? Taking a deep breath in, palms rise up, and exhaling, hands to heart. Find breath. Joining me in prayer. Jesus, we are so ready for you to come back. And yet, we're also not. So we thank you for your grace and your mercy and the transforming power of your Spirit as you continue to draw us into your likeness. Help us to be intentional about the lives that we lead so that when you do come back, we're ready. It is in the name of Jesus the Christ that we pray. Amen. Thank you for practicing with me today.